Okay, let's talk about it real quick. Let's make it make sense. Parents, teachers want to know, how is it that you have $2,000 for a prom dress? You have $3,000 for designer sneakers, but you were just up in the counselor's office last week begging for a fee waiver for the SAT. Parents, y'all are out here renting Rolls Royces and self-driving Teslas for prom, but you don't want to pay for the Chromebook that your child broke on purpose. Your child is pulling up to prom in a horse and carriage, and meanwhile, they got D's and F's. They not even graduating on time. They have to come back in the summer and finish their classwork in order to graduate in August. Y'all are spending $10,000 on prom, and every time the school asks you for a donation or a dollar, you say you ain't got it and you ain't gonna give it up. Y'all are out here spending all this money on prom, and then you got a nerve to be complaining about senior dues. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the worst students always end up having the best prom. And parents, don't come up in my comments talking about it ain't none of the teacher's business. It became our business when we were using our little bit of salary to buy school supplies for your child because you were not doing it. You dropped your student off every day at school with absolutely nothing, and now you magically got $3,500 for a prom dress and designer sneakers and a suit. Make it make sense.
I don't like that shit. For sure, bro. I don't like that shit.
Ouch. Right in the heart with a silver bullet.
Yeah. I think they plotting on man. Don't wipe their feet when they enter the L.A.R. I feel a cold stare.
What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Subscriber die trying. You see the thumbnail. More importantly, you saw the clip. What happens after the prom? Or what happens after these extravagant proms? Now, let me say this. There's the minority of people who throw these over the top proms. Yes, they can afford it. And yes, the kid probably doesn't necessarily deserve it, but it's not hurt. Sometimes the kids deserve something, but I think it's just over the top. They have stuff like this over the top, but that's a minority. The majority of these people are not saying what happens after the prom. And as the teacher was talking about, some of y'all kids destructive. Y'all ain't got money to fix that, but y'all got money for prom. That's a problem. Y'all ain't got money, for your kids to participate in activities when they were in school, but you got money for prom. That's a problem. And that's a character problem, and it's a parenting problem, and it's a what you call it? It's a financial problem, because in some ways you're telling people that you know I don't care about what my kids doing. I'm saving money for this one night for them to have a great time, and it's like it's you're doing too much. Because let's just get down to the first thing. 1 second. All right. The first thing is, most of these kids don't deserve it. Their grades don't say they deserve it. Their attitude don't say they deserve it. Their responsibility and level of maturity don't say they deserve it. And the reason I can say that is because if they were any type of mature, they'd be like, that's too much. That's way too much. Because they're not paying for this stuff out of pocket. Their parents are. And a lot of times people are paying for this stuff, paying an exorbitant amount of money. But on top of that, some people are doing this on credit. And it's like, all that stuff got to be paid back. And then the next year, what happens? Some of y'all, I don't think the majority of y'all people, excuse me, go to college. Let's just go 50-50. Half of y'all don't go to college, and you have this extravagant thing. And the other half go to college, and a half of those people drop out or just can't make it. So, but this extravagant, over the top prime is just worth it. No, it's not. And then we got to say some things that, that need to be said about this other stuff. You shouldn't have these kids in designer clothes. I don't like some of these kids is in designer clothes while they're in school, and some of them are just designer at prom. You shouldn't have them in designer clothes. You shouldn't be renting out Rolls Royces and horses and carriages for no doggone teenager. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't do it because it's a bad idea. It's a very bad idea because if something happened, you on the hook. That's why I'm sure most of y'all get insurance, but the vast majority of this stuff is just it's a dumb, wasteful idea. And here's the other reason why. Just bear with me when I say this. Excuse me. It's a bad idea because the vast majority of you are not teaching your kids how to actually have teaching your kids skills that would make them the type of money that would have them be able to do things like that. So why give them an extravagant prom with all this extravagant stuff, and then when it's time to actually go about adult life, they don't have any skills. That don't make sense. And don't get it twisted. And some of y'all hate. I hate to tell y'all this. It's really not about your kid. It's about you. Prom might have been a great experience for you, or prom you didn't make it, or it was a horrible day. So now you're gonna go all out for your quote unquote kids prom, but really it's so you can say it happened. And here's the other part. The- Just it's very simple. Y'all doing all this, that don't even mean the prom's gonna be good. Like the people gotta go have a good time with their date. All of y'all basically spending thousands of dollars for them to walk out the house, take some pictures, you know, y'all make a big hoopla about it, and them get in the car and drive off. That ain't got nothing to do with actually going to the prom and having a good time. So, and then what if you have? Will they be able to have a night out? That of course. I mean, you spent all this money. I'm sure you got money for restaurants and all that other stuff, but you spent all of that money basically for a 30-minute show off at best. You get what I'm saying? So now it's just wasteful spending. And like you said, the school's looking at you like, what the the teacher's like, what the and then, like I said, what happens after this? Um, you're seeing more extravagant prom send offs than you are college send offs, military send offs, trade school send offs. It's like it's starting to look like for the people who do this. Oh yeah, that kid ain't going to school. That kid ain't going to college. That kid ain't going to the military. That kid ain't going to no trade school. This is going to be the biggest best day because basically we don't think they're going that far because you're not really. It looks like you're not investing in their future. You just that's their Super Bowl Christmas. Together would be the prom, right? And then it's like okay, and then you know a lot of you young kids, y'all not saying, hey, that's too much, which is problematic. Which tells me you're selfish, or you're spoiled and you're accustomed to being spoiled, or you're accustomed to being selfish, because that's way too much. Pause on that. And when I'm saying it's too much, some people go, well, man, back in your day, back in this, back in and no, it's not about back in my day because people rented limos, people rented cars, people rented suits and girls made dresses and all that, but people had hotel rooms and you know went out to eat, all that other stuff. But we had plans after the prom. You get what I'm saying? People had the prom was just okay. It's our this is the thing that we do with dates before graduation, and this is like our secondary send off. Like this is my last time being a high school student in a high school with other high school students because graduation we're gonna dap up, throw our caps, go with our families, and then a couple weeks later, you know, maybe a month later, depending, a couple of weeks, a month or two later, we gone, depending on what you're doing. So a lot of this looks like these families don't actually have plans for these kids' futures, and these kids don't have plans because if you were saying going to college, I'm going to military, going to trade school, you'd be like, nah, I'm gonna save some of this prime money. If y'all gonna spend all this on me on prime, let's cut that in half or make it a third, and use some of that money for school or the military or trade school because I'm gonna need it. You get what I'm saying? That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. It looks like we just gonna cash out right now. So and ultimately at the end of the day, what the teacher was talking about with the school part, it's like a lot of y'all is like, your kid didn't participate in school like that. You didn't participate in your school's education like this. So you just so in a parenting sense, it's all a show. This is all a show. Just like some of y'all going to these graduations and screaming at the top of your lungs. Shut your punk ass up. You ain't helped that kid study not once. That's why them grades was average. And a lot of times the people that scream the loudest are the people with the most below average kids. Like, yeah, you finally did it. You made it because I didn't know if it was gonna happen because I'm stupid and you stupid. But yeah, shut the fuck up. You wouldn't be screaming that loud if you felt like your kid had a future, for the most part. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. Call me a hater if you want, but I'm just being honest. But tell me what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.